Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ings from IGS Electronics, and today we're going to be continue with the videos that I've been starting to make probably about a week ago about a day in life of my work. And what I try to do is create videos so I can, when I receive a problem that I'm called out to have a look at it, diagnose the problem, work through the problem and fix it, and try to take some of the pictures of the problem that I have been encountering so I can talk to you guys, show to you guys my thought process of how I analyze the problem, and obviously how I've gone about it. So for those guys who are starting in industrial automation, and are able to follow me and possibly, hopefully, learn something from it. So today's video is going to be about a positioning arm. So the arm of what we've been doing is basically positions paper on the roll to regulate the temperature. I was called out to say the arm has gone absolutely bonkers and has not been listening to the system whatsoever. If it's been put in automatic mode, the arm just going up and then suddenly down, then it's up, then suddenly down. Everything was just going wrong. So today we'll have a look at the actual problem with the arm itself, how that would work, and I will talk you through my thought process, how I was able to diagnose the problem and understand what is going on. So without further ado, let's get started. So first things we're going to do, what we always do, we quickly have a look at the actual problem and equipment. So this is our drum, so let's call this a drum. And this in here, let me just go up a little bit. This in here, this is our arm, the positioning arm. So what's happening in here? This arm moves up and down in this area. So it goes up and down, and applies paper to it and removes paper as temperature is needed. So if the paper is too hot, so it moves up. If the paper is too cold, it moves down to apply more onto the drum to get temperature into the paper. So what was happening in here? This arm in here, suddenly in automatic mode no longer was listening to anybody. He was doing his business on his own. So if he was told to go position 50, he was going to position 100. He was telling to go to position 100, he was going to position 30. So he was going crazy. So he was not listening. We were able to control the arm manually, up and down, but automatically wasn't able to do anything. And when I say anything, of course he was able to do something, but he was not doing what he's supposed to do. And that is a very crucial moment because paper is going into the next stage, the wrong temperatures, and all sorts of bad things start happening. So we need to quickly identify what is going on. So in the thought process, first things what we need to do is identify what components are involved of controlling this arm. So let's have a look. So the arm itself is here. First identified is there's a shaft going all the way in here, and there's a motor. Okay, and that motor is a three-phase motor. You do need to watch my last video where I was talking about encoders and try to understand why the designer has used just a three-phase motor for arm positioning. Because in this point in here doesn't really need like super accurate position. It's just as long as he's able to move up and down to a position to keep the temperature steady. So have a look at my last video where I talked about encoders, why, and see if you can work it out why the designer chose not to use servo motor for this application. So now that we know that there's an induction motor involved, so it's the contactors. Okay, right here on the shaft end, there is encoder. Let's mark as encoder. All right, that's an encoder. And if we go down in here, as you can see right here on the bottom, we have a temperature sensor that reads the temperature of the actual paper. So now we know we have induction motor. There's no servo involved, so we can just park that on the side. We don't have to worry about the servo drive itself. We have an encoder and we have a temperature. So next step, let's have a look which values we are able to see from HMI. On HMI, I am able to see temperature, and I was able to see the actual position. So temperature, when I looked at temperature is pretty solid. It was showing 80 degrees. It was working very well. There was no sporadic movements. There was nothing going crazy. So I was ruling out temperature out completely. First things first, actually one thing I forgot to say is identify who is controlling. That's who is the controlling part, the controller itself that's doing the job. Sometimes you can have like a standalone controller to perform this option, but most cases nowadays, the most modern machines, they use an actual PLC. So once you understand the PLC, you understand where those signals are going to what cards. So you can quickly have a look to make sure there's nothing funny going about the cards. So the thing is, now that we have I can see on the screen, on HMI screen, that the temperature is working. But when I look at the position, it was moving up, down, but he was not told to do this, but he was doing it anyway. Something was going wrong as temperatures requirements was sent in. It was not being able to move arm at all. So I completely ruled out the temperature problem because the temperature is working fine, but the position wasn't. So from that point, I have narrowed down my problem solving to encoder and card itself. So the encoder was sending signal back to the input card to the PLC. So it was actually a TM card, which is a encoder card, a specialized encoder card for it. And he was not showing any errors on it. And usually for the Siemens, it was ET200 SP TM card. Usually, that doesn't 100% guarantee it, but usually, if there's some form of internal problems with the card itself, the card will start showing some form of errors, and there was none of it. So I didn't completely eliminate the problem. That cannot be the problem. You should never do that. You just say, look, I'm gonna park this now because my thought process is usually there should be something going on, but we're gonna go and investigate the next thing, and that is actual encoder. And as it happens, the encoder was the problem. Obviously, you couldn't see anything on encoder because you could look at the code. It's fine, because the next thing you can do, we on the end of the evening, because we were still able to move things manually, so somebody was had to do it manually, which is taking up the person. But in the end of the day, we took the encoder off, put a oscilloscope on it, and the encoder was just sporadic. It wasn't able to do anything properly. So we replaced the encoder, and the problem was solved. And that was it, guys. So we have identified where the arm was going wrong. We replaced that encoder, and that's it. And following day, the machine was functioning as it should do. So the thought process is in here is hopefully is giving you a bit of an understanding how I observe the problem itself and how what kind of steps I undertake to diagnose the problem. The key one in here, what I'm trying to emphasize, is to understand what's controlling it and what's involved in the process. All the equipment that is part of the system, you should definitely study it. I will have a separate video. We're going to be talking about the improving your automation skills when you are working electrical panels very, very soon. There's a lot I want to discuss to give you some good tips of fault finding, how I work and able to diagnose problems. But we are also going to be making a video, the next video, have a look at how that whole system, the whole thing, can be programmed inside a PLC. But have a look how that is possibly done. So tune in if you want to see that as well. So thank you much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope this is helping you out and giving you better understanding how I think, and hopefully it's helping you out to diagnose in the future some of these kind of problems. So again, thank you much for watching. If you do like the video, do smash that like, do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.